Hey everybody, welcome back. Josh here with Desert Gardens Homestead. So I'm out here in my garden. It's a beautiful day here in the Sonoran Desert, and I had a subscriber on a video that I had done about a year ago on some bamboo that I have in the landscape, and they had mentioned that they wanted an update. I just want to show you the different varieties that I'm growing here in the Sonoran Desert. I'm in Zone 9A. I have a handful of good varieties that do well here in the Sonoran Desert. Bamboo is a grass, so grass and desert heat and arid conditions typically don't mix well. And I have struggled here with some bamboo in the past. And so I just want to show you some of the various varieties that I grow here that do well in the Sonoran Desert or arid climates, and how I care for these bamboo and how I make bamboo successfully grow in the Sonoran Desert. Hang tight. So before us here is the first clump of bamboo that I installed here in the yard, and this is the Buddha belly. And I put this clump into the ground in 2018, so we are now in year 6 on this clump. The Buddha belly that I have here in the yard is part of a large hedgerow consisting mainly of oleander, but I went ahead and filled this gap in with the Buddha belly bamboo. And so in the past 6 years, this clump has grown to about 8 feet tall with a spread of about 5 to 6 feet. And so it is a slower growing, just as most bamboo seem to be here in the desert. They're not fast growing as they would be in other areas such as Florida or California or other areas that receive a little bit more rain. And I do want to mention that this is the yellow Buddha belly. So there are a couple different types, but this is the yellow variety. And the next clump of bamboo I have is the Alphonse Carr, and it is a clumping bamboo, which the Buddha belly is also a clumping bamboo. And the Alphonse Carr I installed a year after the Buddha belly, so this one's been in the ground for about 5 years, and it's reaching heights of about 6 feet tall with about a 5-foot spread. And just take a look at these new shoots coming up this year. Quite a few of them in here. And so the new shoots coming up, the new culms coming up, will be an indicator of the height. And so those will get to a specified height for this year. They'll begin to leaf out, and then that will be pretty much the height for this year. And then the following year, it should get a little bit taller. Here's the base of my Alphonse Carr clump. The neat thing about the new culms is that they have a dash of pink on them. Let's go ahead and find one. And not quite sure how this culm is coming out here in the view, but as you can see, it's got a nice splash of pink. And so they're just a really pretty grass, and I just really enjoy this variety here in the yard. Now the Alphonse Carr, as well as the yellow Buddha belly, the cane diameters or the culm diameters will probably only get to be about 1 inch to maybe a little bit over 1 inch, 1.25 inch, 1.5 maybe. So they are smaller diameter. And so just like the yellow Buddha belly, the Alphonse Carr is a slower growing bamboo here in the Sonoran Desert. Just lack of moisture, arid conditions, hot arid conditions, just slow down the growth of these bamboo. But they do grow and they do survive here in the arid Sonoran Desert. And before us here, I have a small hedgerow of sea breeze bamboo. And these are also a smaller diameter bamboo, but they grow to a pretty good size. And the thing I really liked about these sea breeze is that they fill in very densely and they make a very good privacy hedgerow, which is their utility here. And so I have, 4 of these. And so I've got a nice little hedgerow here. And they are, I just put them in the ground last year. So this is second year in ground, and this is the best looking one here. And it's reaching heights of about 4 feet tall. Now I have noticed that a lot of people, when they come over to look at plants, that they do shy away from the bamboo. I think bamboo's got a really bad reputation because there are a lot of running bamboo. And if you live in a location that receives quite a bit of moisture where grasses can take off and thrive and flourish, running bamboo can cause havoc. I've seen some videos on it to where, it's almost impossible to eradicate for certain areas. So just be cautious with any running bamboo. But when you're dealing with clumping bamboo, which is the primary type of bamboo that I have here on the landscape, they only get so large. It's only typically, a six foot diameter usually. So they'll only get to a certain diameter and then they'll stop. And so they'll get so wide and so tall, and then they'll just stop growing and they'll be a mature clump. And so you'll never have to worry about clumping bamboo running or spreading or anything of the like. They'll just stay put. And so just keep that in mind, that there are different types of bamboo. And bamboo is just, there's something with bamboo in the landscape I just can't describe. You know, it's like almost like an energy that it puts out. And you know, I'm not really into all you know, that, but there is something with the bamboo. Once you have one in the landscape, there's just something with that plant. And so, you know, it's just, it adds something to the landscape. And so they're just really neat to have around. And once you have one, you'll probably get more. And you know, I'm just really anxious and looking forward to my clumps maturing and just getting to that point to where they're just really graceful and elegant to look at and to take shade under. So I just wanted to share that with you as well. So general care for bamboo in the Sonoran Desert, any arid hot location, would be to give them frequent waterings. I would water probably daily for between 5 to 10 minutes per day until the clump gets established. And then from there you could water every few days in the heat of the summer. For me, I'm watering every 3 to 5 days on established clumps. And then I'm watering on my newly established clumps, I'm watering every day or two for just shorter periods of time. And then the more fertilizer that you give the plants, the happier they'll be and the faster they'll grow. And so they do like quite a bit of fertilizer, being a grass. And then as far as the heat, or as far as the sun here in the desert, they will take full sun, but they do certainly appreciate shade, especially the Alphonse car, I've noticed, appreciates the shade. Buddha belly can take more sun than the Alphonse car. Their Rundo Donax doesn't seem to mind full sun at all. And the old hammy eye doesn't seem to mind full sun at all. So it just really depends on the variety. But for me, I would probably, if they're in full sun and if they're a smaller plant, I would just baby them and give them a little bit more water than you typically would otherwise. Another type of grass that I grow here is a bamboo want-to-be. It's not a bamboo. It's called a Rundo Donax, and it is a type of a reed. It's a giant reed. It's you know, it's just it looks like bamboo, but it's really not. This is a spreader, and this is a runner. And so if you're, once again, if you're in a location where grasses can flourish and spread, I would be very cautious with this type of a grass. But if you're in an arid location, really nothing to worry about. I put this one in the ground last year, and it really hasn't done much of anything. It's you know, grown out just a little bit, so I think it'll probably just grow out just a little bit. But from some of the mature clumps of this particular reed or grass that I've seen here in the desert, they do appear to be clumpers. But I have spoken with others that have had this very mature within the landscape that says it does spread very aggressively. And so if it spreads here, I will just pull it out. But these are very neat grass to have, and I enjoy this, and I'm actually making a border with it along my fence. Let's take a look. And so as you can see here on my eastern fence, I began planting the Rundo all along the fence line, and I have it on drip irrigation, and it is doing fine. It has grown quite a bit. I put all this in the ground last spring, so we are now on season 2, and it's reaching heights of 8 to 10 feet. It's not as dense as I would hope, but I'm hoping that with time it will grow up and thicken up and just become a dense patch of grass, which is what I'm looking for. Here's a small patch of Alphonse car I have on my east side. This is first year in the ground, but I've had this one potted for a couple years. But nice size. It's, you know, 3 feet tall by about 2 feet spread, and just doing very nicely here by the mesquites. And now to my all-time favorite bamboo that I'm growing here in the yard. This is just my all-time favorite due to the size and diameter of the culms and just the beauty of this particular variety. This is the old hammy eye bamboo, and this one just does really well here in the desert. And I love the diameter of these culms. They get to about 4 inches in diameter. Just a really nice size diameter culm, and this is the old hammy eye. And this clump here I've had in the ground for 2 years. This is the second year, and it is reaching heights of about 8 feet tall. Couple nice sized culms coming up here, but until this clump matures, the culms are going to be a smaller diameter. So as the clump matures, the culms will thicken up and it will become a much larger diameter. And so I have 4 of these old hammy eye here in the landscape. I had picked up quite a few from a gardener in Tucson and exchanged some plants for allowing me to come over and dig up some of his culms. And so I was able to I got 6 of them, but out of the 6 I had 3 that have survived here in the landscape. So here's one. Here is another old hammy-eye, as well as this one right here. And here's my 4th old hammy-eye. Now this one was a much smaller plant that I just received on an online purchase. And so this one was just a small little culm, just a little starter, and I plugged it in. Actually, I had it potted for about a year in the nursery, and then I plugged it in. And now the main base is probably 3.5 feet, but it's got this new culm coming up here, and that one's reaching heights of about 5 feet. And so this will just be a really neat clump here, right next to an oleander, mesquite. And then I'll have that one thicken up, and then I'll have the sea breeze going down to the left of that hedge, so it'll all be one large hedgerow. And then I have my white Pakistan mulberry there, as well as a white king mulberry there. So it'll be a pretty neat little landscape once it all fills in and matures. And then I'll probably plug in some smaller stuff once I get some shade in the area. So just an update here on my west side fence line. I went ahead and installed some Alphonse Carr, Buddha Belly, and some Rundo Donax in all 3 various locations, or just all 3 within this line here. And this is all 2nd year in ground, and they're all doing really well. This is probably the best looking clump out of the bunch. And you know, for 1 year's worth of growth, that's pretty impressive. And so here they all are. They're doing their thing. They're all growing well. And last but not least, the final variety of bamboo that I have here is the Chinese timber bamboo. And this is a running bamboo, and this is a very, very large diameter culm. I think these can get to 7 or 8 inches, and they can get very large at that, but I'm sure they'd probably dwarf out here in the desert just as everything else seems to do. But this one I still have in the nursery potted, and I'll probably give it maybe another year or so. And so I plugged this one outside last year along with everything else, but it just really struggled in the heat. It was a smaller bamboo, so I dug it back up and I repotted it. And so I'm gonna go ahead and allow it to grow for another year or so, allow it to get a little bit larger, and then I'll probably put it out back near the goats somewhere and allow it to get much larger, and then just use the leaves as fodder for the goats. So you may be asking yourself, why do I want to grow bamboo? What's the purpose of having bamboo in the landscape? Well, bamboo serves several purposes here in my landscape. First and foremost, it's just aesthetically pleasing to look at. It's just a really beautiful ornamental plant to have in the landscape. Secondly, it's a great fodder, so you can use the leaves to feed all kinds of various animals, including goats and ruminants. And so it just makes an excellent plant to have around to diversify your fodder. Thirdly, the canes can be used for biochar. So if you're into natural farming or want to source as many inputs as possible locally on your plot of land without having to source inputs, bamboo makes an excellent wood to use as biochar, just because it replenishes itself so quickly, and it's just an excellent carbon to use for biochar. So that is a purpose in the future for me to use. And lastly, bamboo can be used for construction purposes. So you can use bamboo for all kinds of things. Even these smaller diameter culms can be used as stakes in the yard. You can use it for roosts for your chicken, even up to, you know, the 4-inch diameter culms can be used for chicken roosts. And the larger diameters can also be used for construction material. So bamboo just offers a plethora of uses, and you can also eat it. Some of these small shoots can also be eaten. So there you go. So bamboo is a ideal permaculture candidate because a plant can be used for so many various purposes, and that really is the main thought behind permaculture, is getting plants that can be used for many different purposes. So I once again surely appreciate you stopping in and checking out this video. If you found anything entertaining or anything of value in the video today, I would surely appreciate you smashing that like button, as well as commenting down below. Let me know what bamboo you grow, or what you would like to grow in the future, or what questions you have that I may not have covered on this video. So once again, thanks again for stopping in and checking out this video, and I hope you have a great day today, and God bless.